Hello, everyone, and welcome to Justice with Janell. This is a new podcast where Janell Foster, I am linking the urban community with the legal community so that people can have access to valuable legal knowledge. My office is located in Media, Pennsylvania. The telephone number is 610-273-5380. I specialize in criminal, family, and elder law. Also, I can be reached at Janell at janellfosteroffice.com. And for the show, you can reach me at justicewithjanell@gmail.com. So today's show, we have two very special people. They're both public defenders, and they're going to talk about how to navigate the public defender's office. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're accused of a crime and you don't have the money to be able to afford legal representation, you are entitled to have a public defender. So today we have Devon Potts. She is with the Delaware County Public Defender's Office. And we also have Denita Latta. She is with the Philadelphia Public Defender's Office. Both of these ladies are personal friends of mine. Devon Potts, I've known her since the first grade. We were in first grade to eighth grade together. So I know her very, very well. And Denita, we went to law school together. So I know both of these women personally. They are amazing public defenders, and there is not two better women that can help you navigate the public defender's office. So let me just tell you a little bit about the both of them. So Devon Potts is a lifelong Delaware County resident. She was born and raised in Chester, Pennsylvania. She attended Chester Upland Schools, and she graduated from Chester High School. She did her undergrad studies at Delaware County Community College. She also attended Pierce College and Drexel University. She graduated with honors from Widener Delaware Law School in 2021, and she is currently licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And she began working as a public defender in Delaware County in May of 2022, and she's currently in the pretrial division. Next, I'm just going to introduce Denita Latta. She has been a member of the bar since December of 2020. She is currently practicing as an assistant public defender at the Defenders Association of Philadelphia under the leadership of Chief Defender Keisha Hudson. She is currently advocating in the felony waivers unit of the organization. From 2019 to 2021, she actually served as a full-time intern in the office as well. She also graduated from Widener Delaware Law School in the class of 2019. And me and Denita actually walked together. So we graduated at the same time. She participated in the criminal defense clinic in the fall of 2018 under Professor Romy Greismer. She also served as the Women's Law Caucus president from 2018 to 19, and she implemented a book club at Baylor's Women's Clinic where she linked prisoners and law students, and they read together A Piece of Cake by Cupcake Brown, and they met every week to discuss those assignments. While in law school, Denita spent her 1L summer interning at the Delaware Public Defender's Office. She also did her 2L as an intern at the Defenders Association of Philadelphia, where she fell in love with the people that she served at the office. and she spent her 3L as a volunteer intern at Defenders Association of Philadelphia, helping trial attorneys with any assignments that was passed to her. When she's not working, which is extremely rare, I'm sure,
Yes.
she enjoys spending time with her family, fur babies, traveling, and just hanging out with her friends. Awesome, ladies. Thank you for joining me today. A couple questions. We're just going to get right started. I just want to know from both of you, why become a public defender? You know, in law school, when we come out, we have so many different options, so many different directions that you can go to. Why did you say to yourself, I would like to be a public defender?
You want me to go first? Okay. So I also participated in the criminal defense clinic through Widener, Delaware Law School with Romy. Romy is super awesome.
Yes.
I did it my last semester of law school, and it was an awesome experience. Going into law school, I always knew that I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. Once I did the clinic, I knew for sure I wanted to be a public defender. And the biggest reason for me wanting to be a public defender is honestly just to level the playing field and to change the perception of public defense. Most people, unfortunately, have a negative perception of public defenders. Of course, because we technically work for the government, they feel like we are working with the government. And a lot of times they feel like we're working with the government against them. So I just kind of wanted to change that perception because that actually is not the case. And like I said, also, I just wanted to level the playing field. I feel like people who can't afford attorneys should still get the same quality legal representation.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Zanita, what was
I
your
love that
motivation?
answer. And just like Devin, I knew from the beginning that I went into law school knowing that I'm going to be a public defender. When all of my friends were going for corporate law, civil law, I get it. I was like, no, criminal defense is what it is. I it's just a pure passion for me though. Like I went to law school because of the Trayvon Martins, the Freddie Grays, and just the people in the community that are just wrong, just for not for being poor, basically. And I was like, no, my community deserves proper representation, and I need to provide that representation. And I don't trust the system, so I need to make sure that I can help people who are being victimized by the system. So
Totally agree.
I think that, you know, great public defenders are definitely needed. I mean, as you mentioned, Devin, there is such a negative undertone, right? When
Right.
people think of public defenders, some people even think they're not real lawyers.
Yeah,
I've even
a lot of people think
heard
that.
that. I've heard that, and I'm like, no, public
Mhm.
defenders have went to law school. They are
yes,
real attorneys. They
Yes.
are just as real as any other attorney.
Mhm.
So, um, both of you, I just want to ask you, when you think about that, you have a client, right, that comes in already having such a negative undertone and don't trust public defenders, what do you do to try to establish trust with that client? Like, how do you break down that wall? Danita, we'll let you answer first this time.
for me, I always acknowledge that their feelings are real, that they're valid, because I also know people who are public pretenders, right? Everybody that's in this office ain't here for the same reason. Let's put it like that. I'm gonna keep it real, right? But however, I first say I understand why you feel like you feel. I have my own experiences with public defenders. Janelle, you know this. When I took the bar exam, I had open bench warrants and didn't even realize it because when I was in college, undergrad, I was driving with no insurance because that's the only way I could get to go see my baby, on weekends. And I missed court a lot, not realizing I needed to take care of that stuff. And so clearly, I did not have a proper advocate in my public defender. So therefore, I understand. I don't even want to call it a stigma, right? Because it's a reality for a lot of people. So how I combat it is first by saying, yes, I'm sorry that happened to you. Yes, that's the real thing. But let me explain to you, give me a chance. Let me show you something different. And if I don't, then you please hold me accountable to that.
That's wonderful. Devin, how do you think you combat it? Like, what do
Yes.
you start with a client?
Well, I definitely totally agree with Denita. It's like you said, you definitely have to acknowledge, because I don't sugarcoat things and I don't make things up, and I'm not making excuses for um, the unfortunate atmosphere when it comes to public defense. And so, again, too, I haven't fortunately had the opportunity to work with a public defender or anything like that, but I do know people who have had to deal with public defenders, and I saw firsthand some of the things that they had to deal with, and the lack of interest, and honestly, not even just to say that it was just completely on the public defender, because a lot of things have changed. My office is a great office, and it's probably why I'm able to be the public defender that I am. But not all offices are like that, and some public defenders are overwhelmed. So even though they may have a genuine interest and they're sincere in trying to do the best thing that they can for their clients, they honestly just don't have the time. I don't. So I do acknowledge that. I do acknowledge that, that unfortunate situation with public defenders and public defense work. But then I also do the same thing. I wasn't a public defender then. I let them know that that's exactly why I chose to become a public defender. And then I just asked them to let me show and prove. And that's what I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's wonderful. So right with that, I think that with that stigma that there's, a big difference between if you have a public defender and if you have a private attorney, that your outcome is going to be different. I also hear that even from, the private side of things. So do you think there is really a difference if you hire a private attorney, the outcome that you can get, from if you have a public defender? Is there a big difference? Devin, I'll let you start. What do you think?
Okay, so I'll say this. If I'm being honest, depending on the private attorney that you get and the reputation that that private attorney has, and the relationships that that private attorney has been able to develop from being in the field, you could possibly come out with a different outcome. I'm not going to say that you won't, because I've seen it happen. Not major outcomes, as far as so far at least that I've seen. Like, you're not going to get a private attorney who's going to get you off on a murder case if the evidence is against you, regardless of whether or not you take a private attorney or a public defender. But you might have an attorney that has a good relationship, a private attorney that has a good relationship with a judge, and so maybe the judge is going to be a little bit more open to their bail argument or something like that. I'm not going to say that things like that don't happen, but I will say this. I feel like, just from being in the field and working with the judges that I've worked with, the time that I've had, I've been able to develop those relationships too. And I've been able to, get great outcomes for my clients as well. So I don't think that it always comes down to whether or not you have a private attorney versus a public attorney. I think that it comes down to like the knowledge of the attorneys and how hard they're willing to work for their clients.
yes.
Denise.
I love that answer, Devin. I will say capitalism is real, right? And so see, I can see the benefits of having a private attorney, right? Even just from a uh, automatic respect position. However, one thing that I also know, I know that many private attorneys walk over to our table to say, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? Right? What should I be doing? Um, I absolutely hate inheriting cases from private attorneys because I find that they have usually promised clients a lot of stuff that's not realistic, right? And when their funding runs out, then they land in my file and they expect all those things that they were never going to get anyway, right? And so I find myself saying to clients who will ask me, you know what, be honest, should I get a private attorney or should I just stick it out with y'all? If you can afford an attorney and that's what you want to do, by all means, you may end up in a better position. However, if you roll with me, you might end up in that same exact position. It's up to you. But capitalism is real. So
Yeah.
I see private attorneys get things out of judges that we don't. just because.
Yeah. And with that being said, from your experience, do you think that there is a pattern in the demographics of the clients that you get? So, do you think that you're getting more clients of color because they can't afford the representation? Or do you find that you're getting clients from across the board? Like, what demographics are you tending to see as clients?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead, Denita.
So my clients usually are always brown, right? It's not as much just black, but
Right.
they're generally brown. Um, the more that I advance, it's becoming more and more neutral, but that's because the crimes are getting more severe, the charges are more severe, right? I find because I spent years in arraignment court that people that are getting arrested generally are brown, right? Are brown. And so I know it's not because brown people are doing more things. It's just that brown people are the ones being arrested and standing in front of me saying, I need you. For me, I will say that 70% of my clients are definitely brown. At least 50% of those are black. And yeah, that I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. Devin, what's
Not,
your experience?
I find that I need translators more and more now than
Right,
ever.
right.
So
Yeah.
I agree.
so
I
yeah,
definitely agree with that.
yeah.
So I would say, at least for me right now, being in the pretrial division, it's a little different because we have, I believe, I don't even want to get the number wrong, but we may have upwards of 30 district courts, and they're in different areas. So we're assigned to specific district courts. So I've been assigned to district courts in areas that are majority black and brown people. And of course, in that area, I'm going to service the majority of black and brown people. But I've also been assigned to courts in like Broomall and Newtown Square. And those areas are predominantly white areas. So I do get a lot of white clients in those areas. Overall, yes, we service, indigent clients. We service clients who, are impoverished to some extent. So that has proven to be more like Mr. Nita was saying, like brown and black people. But I do actually get a lot of Caucasian clients also, and clients who aren't brown and black.
Right. So I'm going to ask y'all a question that I get asked a lot. So if someone comes to you and says they're worried about a public defender that's not representing them to the best, and we're talking about public defenders that are not like y'all two, that are not going above and beyond, that don't care. I'm talking about they have a public defender that's not responding, not doing their job for whatever reason, whether it's overworked, overloaded, don't care, whatever it is. What can they do? Like, what can they do?
So I would say at least so I can only really speak for the public defenders in my public defender's office right now. Now, again, I haven't been there. I've been there a little bit over a year. So I don't know everyone in and out. But at least what I can tell you is our office is run by Chris Welsh. I'm not sure if you know Chris Welsh, Miss Anita. He is awesome. And he is going to fight for the little people. So he has a standard that he is going to hold his public defenders to. So if someone was a client of a public defender in my office and they were saying that they didn't feel like their public defender was doing the best that he or she could for them, I would encourage them to literally sit down and speak with their public defender. And the reason why I say that is because I know that the public defenders in my office, at least the ones that I interact with and the ones that are literally in office with me and in my pretrial division, we all go hard for our clients. Like we literally do. But what I find a lot is that your clients sometimes think that, and not sometimes, most of the time, think that you could do things or you should be doing things and you really can't be doing them at the time. And so like they might think that you should be filing this motion or you should be requesting discovery or you should be doing something else when you're just not at that stage in the process. So sometimes I think that if you could, I would, that's why I would start there. I would encourage them to sit down with their public defender and, talk to them about what it is that's going on, the feelings that they're having, and why they think that their public defender is not doing the best thing that they can.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't think that they get the answers or the responses that they want, then I would definitely encourage them to talk to our chief, because our chief will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And Denita.
I think Devin hit it right on the head, though, with sometimes. So if somebody says to me, I don't believe that my public defender is advocating for me, I will say, what does that look like? Because sometimes they just don't understand. And I have to check myself at times. So like if I'm doing a preliminary hearing, I find that I have to explain to the client, it's going to feel like I'm not fighting for you because I'm not going to ask a single question, okay? But this is just not the time. Before I started explaining that to them, I can see why they felt like I wasn't doing for them, right? But that's because I know something that they don't know. So she is so right on with that. So I would encourage as well, explain to them why you believe that they're not advocating for you. And if they don't have a response or they have not adjusted their behavior, then you need to go to their superior. Like there is somebody high, there should be somebody higher than you in that office. So you may just need someone else. Sometimes we are just not a good fit. So let me give you to somebody else that's going to help you. Because at the end of the day, we all want best possible outcomes. And I may not just be the person that can give that to you.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I love that answer, sis.
Yes.
True.
And I think, and that goes right to my next question, which is, there is a real significance of understanding how court proceedings work, how laws work. I know for me, I have clients, I have a couple of gun cases right now, and it's a lack of knowledge of people coming from out of state, from a different state where the gun laws are this, and then they're traveling through Pennsylvania, and that gun law that's in Pennsylvania is different from other states. So we know that it's very important to know the gun laws or any laws in the state that you're in. So how do you suggest people keep up with? We're trying to keep up with the
right, exactly.
Right? How does the public do it?
I got the answer for this. Google. Boo. Like, I Google laws all the time. Like, I'm not going to Westlaw. I'm not looking in this crimes code. Let me just do a quick little Google to get that rule that I need. Exactly. So, and now there's so much information online. It's almost scary, y'all, like job security wise.
Right.
So I just say Google. But by all means, don't rely on the jailhouse lawyers, please. I'm sorry.
Not.
Right.
Like,
do not.
You got to stop with that. It only goes so far.
Right.
Get a little basis and then come to us and let us help you with the rest.
Right.
It's a whole lot of people practicing. It should not be.
Right. And I find that people tell me other people's outcomes.
Exactly.
Well, my friend had the same charge.
Exactly.
End up happening for him, and I'm like, well, you don't know all the details and the ins and outs of his case and why that's different from your case. So just because person A got this outcome, it doesn't mean you're getting that same outcome.
Not at all.
And people have, unfortunately, sometimes don't understand that. And I'm like, it's a lot of things probably that your friend didn't tell you about the case.
Right.
A lot of details that were left out and, a lot of different things. So being knowledgeable about your case, about the law surrounding your case, just knowledgeable about laws, period, is so important.
Definitely. Sure. And for the most part, for the average person, believe it or not, especially when there are significant changes in laws and like new laws created, it is going to make the news. So a lot of times you can literally, if you're just paying attention to the news, if you're on social media, everybody wants to be the first person to report everything.
Right.
So you can literally get access to a lot of that information, literally just by paying attention to the news, being on social media and different things like that. Just like Miss Denita was saying, it's unrealistic to expect someone to, and I'm an attorney, I don't sit on Westlaw.
Right.
Sit on Lexus. I'm not shepherdizing every case that I have. Like you so you do want to, like, I didn't have to like shepherdize Roe v. Wade when it was overturned. It was on the news that it was overturned
Right.
all the time. Like
Right.
you're just paying attention to what's on the news, and
Right.
you should
Right.
be anyway. Anything that affects you, you should want to have knowledge about.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that affects you, so you should want to have knowledge about the laws. I think like one of the biggest reasons also why people should want to like know how the legal process goes is just so that you're aware and your expectations become more realistic. If
Yeah.
you know how things go, you know that you're not going to go to a preliminary hearing with charges that like 2 felonies and a misdemeanor, and it's going to get resolved there. You
Right.
know that the only way that's getting resolved at that level is if your case is completely thrown out. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
felonies and misdemeanors aren't resolved at that level. The
Right.
same thing. If you know that the other side is not technically required to give you discovery before the preliminary hearing, then you'll know not to expect me to have everything.
Right.
You'll know
Right.
if you know
Right.
that at a preliminary hearing the inferences go in favor of the Commonwealth. If you
Yep.
know that everything goes in the favor of the Commonwealth pretty much at the preliminary hearing, then you'll know why I'm not putting on any evidence.
Right.
You'll know
Right.
why I'm not trying to, say, oh no, this is what we're going to argue. This is what happened. You'll know why I'm doing that.
Right.
So it's just like anything that involved that you are involved in and that can affect you. You should always want to be knowledgeable about that.
Yeah, I saw recently that two Black women are actually locked up abroad in Dubai. Just from lack of knowledge of laws. One woman, I think they said she was like twerking on what was it, some kind of jet ski or something, and another woman screamed at somebody at a rental agency, and both of them have been locked up for over 2 months. So, I tell everybody, whether you're going from state to state, you're going out of state, you're going out the country, just brush up on the law differences. It's very important because unfortunately, as all three of us know, lack of knowledge of the law doesn't excuse anything.
Right.
So just because you say, oh, I didn't know that
Exactly.
you can do this in Pennsylvania because I can do it somewhere else.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. So when I saw those two cases, it just made me think as I was preparing for this podcast just about not knowing laws and just how that affects us so deeply.
Exactly. And it's funny that you bring up Dubai. I always, anytime, and I love to travel. Anytime I'm going out of the country, I'm always looking up to see like what's going on there, what their crime rate is like, anything like that. If you look up Dubai before you go, right?
Right.
You see that their crime rate is somewhere around like literally like 0.05, 0.005. If a country has or any place has a crime rate that low, you gotta know that they must have like really, really stringent laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you gotta know that. You gotta know that you have to be mindful of what you're doing when you go in that particular country. So again, just like you said, the importance of knowledge.
Absolutely. So I'll start with you, Denita. What is your biggest challenge that you face as a public defender? Like, what is the biggest thing that you come across?
Right now it's caseload. So right now it's my caseload. It's ridiculously high. But aside from that, it's just that the system is still learning to get comfortable with brown women. And
Yes.
so I find that I'm constantly being accused of being argumentative, right? You know, calm down, lower your voice, or just flat out, get out of here, get out of my room, right? And so my largest struggles right now are just being a Black woman in this space.
Right.
Yeah.
I would totally agree with that. I had another attorney tell me once that I was too emotionally connected to the case. And I said, why? Because I'm arguing just as fiercely as you're arguing. So is that what is making you think I'm emotionally connected? I'm like, no, I'm just going hard for my client. But it just made me wonder in that moment, like just the view, just from being a Black woman, we're already viewed as being aggressive. We're already viewed as being overly emotional. Like we come to the table with all of these perceptions of who we are just because we arrive as a Black woman. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Devon, what is your biggest challenge?
I think that goes back to possibly the first question that you asked. My biggest challenge is trying to fight through that negative perception of public defense and being a public defender, because the deck, if you will, is already stacked up against me when I go to talk to my clients, because they're already like, oh, it's public defender. Like, oh, I thought you weren't even going. I wasn't going to see you like when I went to court, and because often that's the case, but that's a lot of times because the client is going to reach out. Like when you are arrested, when you're arraigned, they tell you, you have to have an attorney. So they give you the information about the public defender. And instead of clients reaching out beforehand, they'll wait until, it's their court hearing now. And the judge is like, okay, who's your attorney? And then they're like, well, I don't have attorney. So he's like, well, you need to talk to the public defender. And then they're like, oh yeah. And then I have to qualify them there. And then it's like, listen, I'll probably have to take a continuance for this case because I just picked you up. I didn't have your complaint, so I'm not prepared for this case. And so what I'm not going to do is try to have a preliminary hearing for you when I'm not prepared. I wouldn't do you that disjustice. So like my biggest challenge so far is just, like I said, just navigating through that negative perception. And with me being in the pretrial division, for the most part, I do preliminary hearings. I'm doing preliminary hearings pretty much every day except for my office day, and having to explain to clients what is actually going to go on at a preliminary hearing, and in the sense having to explain to them why it's going to look like I'm sitting there not doing anything. Yes. That's just like one of the biggest challenges for me right now.
Okay,
but it's the most important phase, Devon. It's the most important phase.
And I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Like, that's debatable for me, because part of me feels like that. So I'll say this: I feel like it should be the most important phase. Like, I feel like at a preliminary hearing, the judges and the magistrate should definitely be trying to weed out cases that wouldn't move forward. Right. But I'll do a preliminary hearing and there's virtually no evidence, and it's no evidence when the district attorney stands up and says, "Well, Your Honor, at a preliminary hearing, inferences going the way of the Commonwealth."
Right.
When a district attorney says that line, the case is weak. And then even another gut punch when the judge says, "Yeah, you probably gonna have trouble at the next level, but I'm gonna go ahead and hold it over here."
Right.
If you feel like there's going to be trouble at the next level, why are you holding it over? So that's why I said I feel like it should be the most important stage, because it should be the stage where we're weeding out unnecessary cases and we're not using legal resources unnecessarily. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah.
So I know for me, I find that I fight with TV shows, right? Because people watch all the TV. They have all the SVU and all these shows where things are happening and, all these things. And it's like people have this image based on TV of what it's like, what the process should be like. And I'm like, turn off the television because it's so different. It's so different. And so do y'all have that same experience? Do you find that people come in with these TV shows like, well, when I watch such and such a show, I watch SVU, and on SVU, they did this, that, and this. And I'm like, okay, you watch the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I jumped right out with that. I'm like, so you ever watch SVU or Law and Order? Yeah, that's not how it happens. Let's get that out the way first. Like, that's not how it happens in those shows. Now, just remember, it's an hour TV show, so it's no way that they could go through every step and every process of the legal system that this case is actually going through. So I kind of like jump out with that before they're even able to be like. That's why I think like for the most part, the best thing you could do is jump in front of that and explain to them exactly what's going to happen and exactly what to expect before they're like, oh yeah, well in SVU this happens, because it doesn't happen like that. But I will say this: I want you to not watch SVU today and watch another first 48. Go watch first 48 for me. That's what I need you to do, because if you want to really learn something, those criminals on first 48 will show you what not to do.
Right.
They will show you what not to do. So you really want to watch a show that can help you, watch that one, because SVU is just going to confuse you.
Absolutely. Denita, is that your experience too?
Yes. last month for the first time, I had a woman tell me how I was going to fight for her, but with behavior, right? Like I need to do this and that and jump up and do all this and that. And I was like, first of all, we're going to talk about what you're accused of, right? And then we're going to talk about best possible outcome. Okay? That's just
Right.
it's not going to work for me. But that was the first time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a client that said to me, "Well, soon as we come in, you tell the judge we will not be listening to that evidence from the other side. You start right with that." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I won't start off telling the judge what we will not be doing." I said, "That's not how it works." And he was like, "Well, I watched such
Yeah.
and such a show, and I saw the persons told the judge, but they weren't going to be doing this and that." And I was like, "Yeah, you were watching TV. If I start off in any courtroom telling the judge we're gonna start with what you're not gonna be doing, I probably will be in contempt and need my
Right.
own attorney to help me get
Right.
out of contempt
Call me up.
today."
Call me. Call me.
Right.
So now this is a question. We have two questions that came from the audience. And I'm gonna have my intern, she's gonna come over and she's gonna ask them of you.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Hello, so this is Shania. She's interning with me for the
Hi,
summer.
Shania.
Hi, Shania.
Okay, the first question is there any type of crime you would have trouble
Okay.
defending, like child molestation or rape?
I can't hear.
Speak a little louder.
Is there any type of crime you would have trouble defending, like child molestation or rape?
You want me? I'll start.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I am a human and I have my own internal struggles, right? But I believe in Gideon's promise, right? And I know it's my role and responsibility to navigate uncomfortable spaces. And I will say, from my experience, there is something that I thought I was going to absolutely not be able to do. I didn't have a choice, and I pushed through that thing, and I was actually fine on the other side. So, in my own perfect world, there are things that I would not want to touch, but it's so. I really believe that people deserve like fair, hard, diligent representation, and I'm just determined to give that regardless. So I can say that there is nothing right now that I won't represent on.
Okay. What about you, Devin?
That is an awesome answer, and I commend you 100% with that. For that, because I agree for the most part. But I could see with some of my personal experiences and things that I have gone through, I could see being faced with a case that I feel like could be difficult for me to represent a client on. And I would say this: I can't say right now I won't defend a rapist. I won't defend a child molester because I think it's gonna have a lot to do with the actual facts of the case and probably other factors. But what I will say is, if I don't feel like I can represent my client zealously, if I don't feel like I can give someone my all with a case because of the facts or because of the charges, then I'm not gonna take that case.
There you
And the
go.
good thing about my office is like they're really good with being understanding of that and working with you in that aspect. So like I said, I can't like pinpoint a specific crime right now, but I will say that if if I'm ever faced with that, then I definitely won't. If I don't feel like I can represent the client zealously, I won't do it.
Devin, I love though that you qualified that it's fact specific, right?
Mhm.
Because you still putting your attorney self forward. I appreciate that answer.
Right, because not everybody who's charged with molestation or rape is
Mhm.
guilty of molestation or
Right.
rape. And I totally agree with you said too. Even if they are, they still deserve a good legal representation.
Mhm.
But I just feel like if I don't feel like I can do that, then I
Yeah.
won't do that to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when I thought about, the differences, when I was thinking about public defense and private, and that was one of the concerns that I had about being a public defender versus private. And then myself, I said I would, in private practice, I would never take a rape case. I wouldn't do it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then a case came my way that totally changed my mind. And I said, I'm glad that I gave it a chance and didn't just
Mhm.
have my initial bias of I will never.
Yeah.
And I actually listened. I took the case, it went through to trial and the person was found out guilty. But I'm glad that I was able to come over that hump because I agree, it's fact specific. Because if I really truly believe in my heart that, somebody didn't commit it, then I would never immediately goes out the window because I don't think
Yeah.
the person did it.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to say, okay, on the private side of things, where we do have a choice, more of a choice, that I would do it, move forward with it. So I understand that, which leads right into the second audience question.
How can you agree to a jury that a client that you know that is guilty, is innocent?
And it's argue. How do you feel
Or
about arguing to a jury? That's the question from the audience. That somebody is innocent that you know is guilty.
Okay, so this is my motto and this is my approach. I don't focus on trying to convince a jury if a client is innocent or guilty. I'll focus on driving home what the evidence proves. And so I'm hoping that in my case, the evidence will prove that my client is innocent, or at least that the Commonwealth hasn't shown beyond a reasonable doubt that my client actually committed the crime that he's being charged of. So I think that, like I said, for me, I just focus on the evidence and showing the jury what the evidence says or what the evidence doesn't say, as opposed to saying, I need you to believe this person is guilty or I need you to believe
Yeah.
this person is innocent.
Yeah. I think for me, I think one of my strongest suits is when I know that this is not a triable case. I don't like to say guilty, right? I'm automatically working on offers. I'm automatically talking about diversions. I don't want to put this in front of a judge or a jury, right? So I think I'm really good at vetting cases. If we make it to a jury, I'm not gonna say I don't want to say too much on this podcast, but I mean I do want to say as much as possible, but I need to make sure I'm mindful.
Right. No, I totally get that.
I had one situation that after the trial, I was giving my client a ride home, and my client said to me, "Miss Denita, do you believe that I was guilty?" And my response was, "I don't care. Like, I don't tell me. Like, if you want, if don't, I don't want to know, right? Because I'm like Devon. I respect the evidence. We're gonna walk this journey, right? And we're gonna knock it out the park. But if you are guilty, that's on you. That's on you. That's not on me."
Right. Right. I mean, because if we're honest, the law doesn't come down to whether or not you're guilty or innocent. It literally comes down to what can be proven. This is
Yes,
why innocent people go to
yes,
jail, or how people feel. This is why innocent
yes,
people go to jail. This is why guilty people, and I'm air quoting with innocent and
yeah,
guilty. This is why guilty people go free. It's about what the evidence shows you, and
right,
then how that evidence is interpreted. That's
right,
just it. So it's
right.
almost like I think you put yourself at a disadvantage if you're like, no, I gotta prove to this person that this person is innocent. No, I don't. I just need to prove. I just need you to see that this evidence doesn't show that
Yeah.
they prove their
Okay, we're on the same
version beyond a
page.
reasonable doubt.
Yeah. And what I always tell people, for me, is it's not my job to decide if somebody is innocent or guilty. That's what we have charged the jury with. The
Yeah,
jury's charge is
right.
to make the decision. Me as the attorney is to make the state prove their case. So
Yes.
that's it. It's not my job. It's like, well, what if somebody is guilty? What if somebody really did it? That's not my job to figure that out. I'm not charged with that. I don't get to say if they're innocent. Even if I believe they're innocent, it's still not my final decision. It's the jury's decision, period, unless it's, a bench
A
trial.
bench
But
trial. Exactly.
usually
Right.
it's the jury's decision.
Right.
And the
Exactly.
evidence proves whatever way it comes out. And, us as attorneys, we're here to make the
Yeah.
state prove their case, point blank.
Exactly.
I will say I will believe my clients until I learn otherwise.
Right.
I've heard so many supervisors like, well, how do you know this? Because they told me that, right? Until somebody
Until somebody
shows me
else is
something
different.
different, this is the truth, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
Yeah.
I
thank
don't
you,
come off of that.
Shania. That was our two questions from the audience.
Thank you, Shania.
Thank you, Shania.
So, in wrapping things up, ladies, what do you personally? I know I've asked a lot of questions, but what do you think the public just should know about navigating the public defender's office? What personal advice do you have?
Well, I would say at least in reference to the public defender's office in Delaware County, I just want everybody to know that there's a new sheriff in town. My chief is for the people. We have, I mean, the reason that I decided to apply, and then eventually after meeting with him and speaking with him and hearing about his vision, I was sold. I mean, I was sold, and he is showing improving. It's one thing to provide good, great defense representation. That's one thing. Another thing that I love that he is doing and has done and is still continuing to do, he is bringing a lot of resources within the public defender's office to
Yeah.
actually help our clients. So these
Yeah.
resources that he's bringing in, we work with advocates that we collaborated with a group called Partners for Justice, PFJs. So we have 5 advocates in our office. There are social services advocates. When I tell you they are awesome, they help our clients address all of their underlying, or pretty much every underlying social service issue that they may have. So if they're dealing with homelessness, if they need to apply for state benefits, if they need drug and alcohol treatment, anything like that, they help them with. So he's actually helping them to address other issues that they have outside of the legal realm. And I think that that is helping them to become more productive citizens.
Oh,
So
that's
that's an
interesting.
even bigger impact
Yeah.
that he's having, or in our office is having on the community. So I'm just like glad to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What
I
about you?
would I would charge the community to um, try to establish a trusted relationship with our office again. I understand, and not my office specifically, because we go hard in the paint, right? We just, you know, we have that reputation. However, there is a disconnect, right? And I think it's our responsibility to tighten that gap, but we also need the community to like make steps too. I am just like Devon, tap into all the resources that we have. We have so many. So use this system for what it has for you, especially if you are in it. Right? You already here now. So let's just figure out what we can do to make it work for us and just be a little try to be somewhat patient and understanding of us too. We're still humans. We're still overworked. We still got a lot of things going on. I have watched my clients thank the judge, thank the prosecutors, thank the sheriff, and never thank me, the one person who has
Wow.
done everything for them at all.
Wow.
So I needed them to take a second and be like, yo, wait a minute.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, if they don't say thank you, I'm saying thank you
Uh,
to the both of you, because I know that both of you have personally done amazing jobs for your clients, for the community. You have represented what an attorney is, what a Black woman is. Both of y'all have families. All of us went to law school later in life.
yep.
All
Yep.
three of us went back
Yep.
later in life to do this. This was a passion of all three of us. So
Exactly.
I just say that I appreciate both of y'all. Both of y'all
Can I
coming.
say this, Janelle? I appreciate you. You graduated, started your own thing right away. You have reached back and helped so many brown women,
Yes.
right? And I mean, I love it. And even Romy, you've never had a relationship with Romy. We had a whole conversation with you over lunch. You're writing children's books. You're doing the
Right.
youth counseling. You're doing so much in the community. And
Thank
I
you.
will never forget, though, you have always been mindful of Black women uplifting Black women,
Yes.
Yes.
especially in spaces where things may not be moving in that direction. You will stop and say, hey, and I love you for it. I love you for
Oh,
it.
thank
Much
you.
respect.
Definitely.
Much respect.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel, and you know I've told you from the time I started law school to graduation that you have been my inspiration. You have been what has always been in the back of my mind that was able to push me anytime I've been like facing any adversity in my legal career and in my law school career. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you for that. I also want to congratulate you for your podcast because I think that this is very well overdue. Very well,
Yes.
very much needed in our community. So I want to
Yes.
definitely congratulate you for making this happen. And thanks for the invite.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sis.
Absolutely. Well, two things before we wrap up. Thank y'all. I appreciate everything y'all said. It's much appreciated. One thing I want to mention is that I have a court closet. So my court closet is here at my office in Media, Pennsylvania, where I have tons of free clothes. I have from double zeros to 4X. We have tons of suits. You don't have to be my client to come. All you need to do is have a court case coming up, and we will get you dressed for court appropriately because looking good and feeling good about yourself is really half the battle for it. So it's called Janell's Court Closet. You can reach out to me, reach out to my office. We're here Monday through Friday. You don't even have to have a court case here in media. It can be anywhere. Just give us a call and set up an appointment, and you can come get dressed for court. Our next topic is navigating PFAs and domestic violence. I have two guests that are coming on just to talk about if you need a PFA. Also, if someone has taken out a PFA against you, what you can do to navigate both sides of that coin. So I will see everybody again. Hopefully, I want to thank my guests again for being so great
Yes.
on. This was my first topic, and when thinking about the show, I couldn't think of two better ladies to come on and
Oh,
just help the urban community be connected to valuable legal resources. Thank
Thank
you, and
you so
everybody enjoy the
much.
rest of their day.
yes.
Thank
It's nice
you.
to meet you,
Have a
Devin.
good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you too. We'll meet again because
Yes.
I'm super interested in meeting your chief also.
Oh, yes.
Chris told
The
me about
best.
when he first hired me. He's like, listen, she's awesome. I can connect you with her.
You wait till I tell you about her. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Yes. And
Okay.
we'll meet. We'll meet up.
Definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you. And thanks again,
You're so
Janelle.
welcome. Thank
Bye.
All
you.
right.